I am about to buy a Jeep. I've always wanted a Jeep ever since I was a teenager. And a buddy of mine took me along with some of our other friends for a ride in his Jeep, and we went off-road, and it was such fun. I have no intention of taking my Jeep off-road, but I've always wanted one. And I wanted to take you into why I'm only getting one at age 54 instead of decades ago. Um, and I want to use this as a kind of example about how not just me, but I think lots of people kind of push down our emotions and tell ourselves that our feelings are not valid, that they're not important. And um, yeah, so I want to take you into that today. That's where we're going. And we'll see, if there's what comes up for you that you might want or be wishing for, and how you might make that happen for yourself. So just before we get started, I am Kay. Just to let you know a little bit about me. I'm Kay Locke Cope. I'm a coach, I'm an artist, I'm a writer. I'm someone who used to really not, I think when I was young, I was a little more in touch with my feelings, but then, or my emotions, like what I felt worthy and valid. But then somewhere along the way, other concerns took over, and I started worrying much more about other people's feelings and validity and not so much my own, which didn't end well, put it that way. And the road back has been the road back to real, true well-being. I needed a wheelchair in 2011, 2012, and then my hands didn't work so well in fact, they still don't work perfect, but I had 5% use of my hands for several years. That is not a lot of use of a typical person's use of hands, 5%. And all that was caused by me not taking care of myself, not hydrating, not getting good nutrition, not getting good sleep, not feeling good. Um, and I think I'm that I'm one of those I'm a bit like I'm sort of a human version of the amphibians, right? When something's really wrong in an environment, like a natural environment, you first see that because the amphibians are getting sick. And like I this started when I turned 40 was when all of that started. Um, I took a needed medication for a condition that I had brought upon myself by not taking care of myself in those ways I mentioned before. And the medication, it turned out, really fucks with tendons. And we didn't know that until probably about 5 years in, but then studies started showing that that this medication, it's an antibiotic, and it causes tendon rupture and tendon scarring. And my rheumatologist, after years of figuring it out, actually the whole health team, but the rheumatologist was the one who stated very clearly, you are that one in a million. You will always have this, and it's up to you how you medication isn't helping. So it's up to you how you handle it. And that was when I first had to start showing myself self-care. And part of that was understanding that my emotions are valid. In fact, the therapist I worked with for a really long time, when my hands were at their toughest and then growing back from that, the way that he used to say it is emotions don't lie. Emotions don't lie. And I always loved that. And he said it to me one time when I was sitting in his office crying because um, it helped me figure out what I was feeling was valid. And we can feel this way about a ton of things. If we're worried about ourselves or for others or about the world, and if you're feeling any of that, I just have a lot of compassion and a huge hug for you. And I hope that a story about someone succeeding, I think, at showing up for myself in a way that isn't, nobody needs a Jeep, right? It's not like today's story will be one of, death and mayhem, but it's just kind of a story about like having something I've always wanted to have. And the first step was declaring that I felt I was worth it. And that was so interesting. Anyway, okay. So what happened was, um, I mean, at 17, I rode in my buddy's Jeep and I was like, oh hell yeah, I want one of these. And I'd never even driven one. And my brother got one. And I remember, riding around in his a little bit. That was fun. Um, but even then it's no wonder it didn't happen until I was in my 50s because um, I never gave myself the permission to really go for it or want it. And you know, once we had kids, for example, I started prioritizing things outside of myself and well, are we gonna show up for our kids or are we gonna get a Jeep, right? In fact, I never even told my husband that what I really wanted was a Jeep. Um, and we I'm trying to think how to say this. We sort of had an unspoken agreement, I guess, maybe that like, you know, it trying to think how to say this. So interesting. Um, I think I put it as like a vanity metric, is maybe how I'll say it. Like, Jeeps are for other people who can afford it, is I think what I used to tell myself. And then I got so busy worrying about everything that was going on and then being really seriously physically ill for 11 years. Um, 8 years, 8 or 9 years, maybe not 11 years, but a long, long time. Really took the Jeep off the table. And by the time I got to this side of it, and I was like thinking again, how fun it might be. I realized that I really was not giving myself permission to even drive one or to try it or to sit in one. And so on my birthday this year, so in early 2025, I decided that I was going to go to a dealership and drive a two-door Jeep Wrangler. And I'll tell you, even just getting in the car I didn't tell anyone I was going to do that. I just got in our non-Jeep and I went off to the dealership and I was shaking like with fear. Like if I think about it, the language up in here was like, how dare you want this thing for yourself? Like it's um, such a vanity thing, like, a lot of not worthy language. But I decided I was going to persevere uh, and try a goddamn Jeep and see what it's really like to drive it. Do I actually want one of these things? I didn't know. I've never driven one. So I got to the dealership and I even just going in, putting myself in the hands of a salesperson was really scary. Um, it just felt really, really uncomfortable. I just decided because I was hearing all the language about like, what if they try to manipulate me? What if they treat me bad? That kind of thing. And I just thought, well, let's see. And the universe gave me the most wonderful Jeep salesperson ever. She was amazing. I went in and I said, listen, I just want to test drive one. I'm doing research today. And she was absolutely fine with that. And we chose the Jeep. It was a white two-door Jeep Wrangler with a soft top. And she sort of talked me through like the differences between Jeep. As I'm sitting in the driver's seat, she's talking me through this happened to be quite a stripped down one. So like it had manual, controls for adjusting the seat and the mirrors. And she showed me how to work the soft top so that I could like have it open if I wanted. This was April. So like it was a lovely day. So I was able to, in the end, have the soft top open for a bit. And I just decided to enjoy driving this Jeep. And I thought that she was going to come with me. I said something about, so I have written an award-winning memoir. It's called Waking Up, and it's about how I grew to love my body and myself while solo hiking across northern England, which is a trip I did in 2023. And what I really wanted to do was put the audiobook on like have it coming over the speakers in the Jeep while I was driving the Jeep. And I had no idea how the hell to do that. So she showed me and we got to talk. She was thrilled at the idea of like, I don't know, someone listening to their own audiobook. And it was really, she actually like she asked that I start it with her in the car so she could like, and she heard my voice reading my audiobook, and that was really fun. And um the whole thing was just incredibly empowering. And then I said, well, we can keep talking if you want while we're driving. And she said, oh, no, no, you're taking this Jeep out yourself. I was like, I'm what? And she said, yeah, I don't have to be with you. Go and enjoy yourself. Go on the highway. Go drive around. And so I did. And it was a little, it was tricky to drive at first. Like you're higher up. It's a bit of a different feel, but good golly, did I have a good time with that. And I mean, even just turning out of the driveway was a little tricky because it was the brakes were different than my brakes. The gas was different than my usual gas. And so I turned onto the road and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm listening to my own audiobook while I'm driving a Jeep. And at some point, I decided that I wanted music and that I wanted to put the soft top back, at least like to make it almost like a sunroof, right? Or a sun, what is that thing called? It's called a sunroof, where usually you have like it's powered and it moves back, right? So this was a soft top that I literally stood up and unbuckled things and pushed them back. And then I put on some favorite music, and then I was driving around, and I at some point realized that I was thirsty and I didn't think to bring my water bottle. So at the moment that that happened, I was driving by two little kids and their lemonade stand. So I stopped and I got lemonade and I drank it sitting in the front seat of this incredible Jeep Wrangler. And I got on the highway and I just drove it on the highway to see, what that felt like and everything. It was such fun. It was just such a like a non-life, regular life moment. And I remember having the thought of like, I am making this request to the universe. I would really love a two-door Jeep Wrangler, please. And I had this kind of funny thought of, I am not canceling that request. Like, this is actually something that I really want, even though I have this kind of self-talk inside about how, it's not good to want a Jeep, I think is maybe what I would say. And somewhere in there, I thought, my feelings are valid. It's really okay to want a Jeep. And it is now July, and that was April. And between then and now, every day, I just would I have been playfully thinking to myself, like I've been envisioning the Jeep that I want. I decided that it isn't a white one that I want, that what I would really like is a red one. And I love the soft top, so I'd love a soft top. And I was accepting of whatever bells and whistles any Jeep that came along would have, as long as it was two doors with a soft top and it was red. And at the same time, I have been, taking walks in my neighborhood. That's something that I do a lot. And I have been walking by somewhere, out on my walk, a red two-door soft top Jeep Wrangler. And one day, maybe about a month ago now, I happened to strike up a conversation with with one of the partners who lives there. So it's this lovely woman. And I said to her, I want to say thank you because just the existence of this Jeep is helping me open to the idea that I could own a Jeep. It's so beautiful. It's like such fun. And she said, you know, my husband's thinking about trading it in. And I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. And about 3 days later, I was again on my walk. I was coming back this time. And the husband was out, uh, I think washing or polishing, doing something with the Jeep. And I just said, I just want to say thank you because being able to see this beautiful Jeep is helping me open to the possibility that I might one day own one myself. And he said, oh, I've been thinking about trading it in. And now, about a month later, it looks like that. Like we've got a plan to go to the bank. As you are seeing this, that will have already happened, um, and complete the sale, basically. And I think the to get from having that conversation with each of them to this moment where we're about to purchase this Jeep, I think the other thing that I really want to be uh, sharing with you about it, because this was what was most challenging for me, and I want to say that I own this. This is nobody else outside of my own story, right? Like, um, so which feels important to say because I, I live with my husband, right? And I want to honor him as well as myself. Like I want to make sure that we're both okay, right? And at the same time, I've now opened to the idea of having a Jeep, and I'm not canceling that request, as I said before. So, and my husband very properly really concerns himself with how does a car run? Like, what are he's got a really great analytical brain, and he loves exploring and understanding about things like, how do Jeeps perform overall? Like, what are the challenges that people experience with Jeeps? And I knew that I wanted to do my research on this, and I knew that when I did that, I discovered that, oh wow, Jeeps are, notoriously unreliable, is how Consumer Reports put it. And I thought, but I still want this Jeep. Like, hmm, you know, I'm not canceling this request. My feelings are valid. And what I did when I wanted to introduce this idea to my husband, so the sellers and I had agreed that the next step, this is about a month ago, that the next step would be for my husband and I to test drive it, like to see, is it actually something that we really would enjoy and would enjoy driving or whatever. And um, sometime before that, I knew I was going to have to at least inform or let my husband know of my desire for this Jeep, and also that, I'd had this conversation with these lovely folks. And so the way that I approach that is we were heading to somewhere else, like we were heading to, I think, the recycling center or something like that here in town. And I said, I think I have found a way to solve a problem that we're having, which is we've only got one car right now for the two of us. And we're sure hoping to change that. Although we're doing okay with it, but it'll be lovely to have two cars again. So I said, I think I might have solved this car thing. There's a car that I'm interested in purchasing. And I said to him, the first thing I want to say to you about this is, I love you more than I love any car. And that felt really important because that's true. Like a Jeep is great, but my husband is far, far, far more important than a Jeep. Really wanting to let him know that I'm okay if I don't get it, but I'd really love it. And so I didn't even tell him it was a Jeep. So we drive by, I give him directions as we were driving along. We drive by and he said, oh, of course, it's a Jeep. He goes, and he said, do you know how unreliable Jeeps are? I said, in fact, I do. I've been doing a lot of research on this. And he was asking questions about the year and the make and the bells and whistles and what we might purchase it for versus what, like, if you were going to a dealership, what would it cost to purchase this one and all that kind of thing. And but mostly he was just really like very concerned that we would purchase something that would be like a total dud, that would suck, that would be very unreliable. And I understand that because they are apparently notoriously unreliable. And what I said was, are you open to hearing this gentleman's experience of this particular Jeep? Like maybe that's true in the aggregate, but what about this one? And he agreed. I think this conversation probably took place over several days because I didn't want to push it on him, and I knew that we had time. We're okay with just our one car, right? So eventually, we agreed that we would go test drive it, and that when we did, we would ask the couple who own it how has it been in terms of reliability. And first of all, we both really enjoyed driving it. I loved driving it. And my husband enjoyed driving it. Like it's kind of a fun ride. It's definitely Jeepy, right? It's like pretty stiff and bouncy and whatnot. You're driving a Jeep, but it's fun. And the owner said, when we asked about the reliability, he said it's always been really, really super reliable. Like he takes good care of his cars. You can see, they're just sparkling clean and beautiful. And He really loves, he's clearly adored this Jeep, and he's put a lot of care into it. He said, the people who take them off road and expect them to be able to do anything, those are the people who have trouble with their Jeeps. He's like, I drive it on the road and I love it, and it doesn't give me any trouble. So that felt really good. At some point in the process, I'll remember this forever. My husband said, I really want you to have what you want. Like, I love you. I want you to have what you would like to have. And he said the one thing that he asked for was if we purchase it and it turns out to be a dud, like we end up putting a lot of money into it, more than we think we should, are you open to not having it anymore? And I said, of course I am. I love you more than I love any car. So that is our agreement. That's the plan. And I think I wanted to share that story because for me, it felt really, I would say, uncomfortable to allow myself to just want what I wanted, to just say to myself, boy, I would really love to have a Jeep, and not cancel that, not ask, not like tell myself how stupid it was to want a Jeep or whatever. But instead to honor my emotions. And I keep remembering my therapist saying emotions don't lie. And how that would happen was every once in a while I would feel a sort of an urge or like a something in here that wanted to push forward and say, oh, okay, I don't have to have a Jeep. It's really all right. But I didn't want to do that because that was not, that's a part of me that I think about, like taking her by the hand and telling her it's really okay, giving that little scared part of me a hug. Um, and still allowing myself to want what I want and to be okay at the same time with not getting it. Like, that to me feels really true to myself, that I don't need a Jeep to validate me, and that my emotions are valid. And I guess, as we're wrapping up, what I'm really curious about for you is what is it that you really want? Um, it can be big or small, right? It can be, oh my gosh, I don't even know. It can be a house on a lake somewhere. Um, it can be a happy kid. It can be a happy self. It can be sitting in the sun with coffee and knowing that the world is an okay place. Like, um, or at least your world is an okay place. We want a lot, and it can be really hard to express that. Um, and if you notice as you think about what it is that you want, a little voice in here going, "Oh, you can't have that. Like, that's too much money. You can't afford it." Those sorts of ways that we have of walking ourselves back. I don't remember who said this, but there's a great expression that I love, which is we can ask for anything we want as long as we don't talk ourselves out of it. And feeling okay in the sense of knowing that our emotions are valid and that we are worthy of wanting what we want is the best way to actually get what we want. Once we have identified what it is, then being able to clearly ask for it and not cancel that request, um, to continue asking for it, even just in our heart, even just in, I mean, I visualized driving around in this Jeep, I would say twice a day or more every day since I test drove that Jeep because um, I just I just wanted a Jeep. So and it's somewhere in the middle of all this. I'm looking at over there is a board that I did a workshop. I facilitated a workshop called Cafe and Courage back in late April or early May, I think it was. And we talked a lot about, you know, what is courage to us? And some of the things we said were it's doing something even when you're scared. It's doing something you feel is right, even if others disagree. It's a leap of faith. It's to keep going. It's not giving up. And while we were there, in that workshop, I shared, this is like late April, right? So I shared about test driving the Jeep and how it took all my gumption to get in the car and go the fuck to the Jeep dealership and test drive this Jeep. And one of the women in the workshop shared that she drives a Mustang because she's always wanted a Mustang. And she's only quite recently gotten a Mustang. And it's almost like she went through a very similar process to me, which is of saying like she used to tell herself, oh, I can't have a Mustang. We've got kids, we've got this. And one day she just decided, you know what though? What if it's okay for me to want a Mustang? And she has one now, right? Um, and I think it's so funny that they're both like car references. There's so much else that we could wish for and be open to in life. So this felt like a not serious example of because some of the things that we want and wish for are very serious and matter a lot more, um, on a deep level than which car we drive, right? Uh, the ability to have a car at all. Or, there's lots of other things. There's lots of other ways that this can show up. So I felt like taking an example that's a little lighter, might help someone open up to the idea of what do I actually want? And can I sit with how it feels to want it? Like in terms of in a good sense of like feeling worthy to wish for this. And what tries to knock me and what do I hear and hear? And then just seeing what happens when you allow yourself to enjoy the idea of you getting it sustained over time. Um, and just seeing what happens. So that's that's I think where I'm going to leave it today. Thank you so much for being here. Um, it's a pleasure to be in this space with you, and it means a lot that you're watching. I hope this is helpful. If you've got questions about trusting yourself or being true to yourself, um, let me know. Ask them, and I'm excited to do some Q&A type videos and see where we go with our next season based on what people are enjoying. And yeah, I'm just wishing you very, very well. And thanks for being here. I'll see you next time.